Sometimes it's just easier to label things and put people in boxes, put yourself in a box, take on identities such as I am an asshole, or I am good, or I am this, or I'm that. And there can be benefits to doing it, such as saying, like, I am good or I am honorable. And then because you identify as that, you then act out the behavioral patterns of someone who does that, even if it might not be in your best interest to do that at the time, because you're like, well, I'm I'm honest, so even though I found the wallet, I have to go return it now because I identify as being honest. The negative side to this happens sometimes when people apply negative labels to themselves, such as I was talking to some person today, and they're talking like how they need to integrate being like they need to accept themselves for being an asshole. I'm like, that's the stupidest shit ever. No, you don't. Um, and they're like, well, what is an asshole? I'm like, an asshole is someone who defines themselves as an asshole. Like, why put a label on it? Like, the person I'm talking about was uh, judgmental of others. I'm like, why do you need to label this? Like, you can just be judgmental of others. That doesn't make you an asshole. You can just be you, and you just happen to be judgmental of others. Like, yes, assholes are judgmental, but not all judgmental people are assholes. And the reason why I made this distinction to them is because when you put yourself in the label of asshole, even if you only apply to like one little section of it, you're like, well, now I'm an asshole. So then you will embrace all the other behaviors of what an asshole is and start doing those because you identify as an asshole versus just being like, well, I don't need to label myself. I just am. And I tend to be like, you can notice yourself being judgy and just be like, well, that's just what's happening right now. Like, that doesn't mean you're judgy. It means that's just where your mind's going. That's where you've allowed your mind to go, and you haven't tried to like move it off course when your mind goes there because you're like, and one of the issues that can wind up is you can be like, I'm a judgy person. That way, when a thought enters your head, you'll entertain it. And you'll be like, "Oh yeah, that person's so fat," or "Oh, that person's so stupid." Like you start entertaining the judginess because you're like, "Well, I'm a judgy person. I should have judgy thoughts." But it's like, no, not really. You just be yourself, and then when a judgy thought comes to your head, now with objectivity, you can look at it and be like, "Is that nice? Do I want to be that person? Do I want to have these thoughts?" And then you can start thinking it and be like, no, I don't want to actually go down there. I don't want to judge that person. Like, they are also a person. Like, I don't need to apply these labels of being stupid, being fat, being this, being that onto them because they are a human being who will change and have stages of their life just as everyone else. But when you identify with negative characteristics or apply negative characteristics with others, they may identify with them. And then when that becomes part of their identity, it becomes so much harder to get rid of. Applying positive characteristics to people, wonderful thing to do. When a child comes up, like when your child comes up to you and wants to help, you're like, you did such a good job. You are a good worker. You are a good helper. You are very smart. Like, and then the child's like, I'm smart. Like, yes, you're smart. That way, they'll start identifying with being smart. So later on, when they feel stupid, because everyone feels stupid at some point in their life, they're like, no, no, I'm actually pretty smart. This is something very difficult I'm trying to do. And I mean, my parents always told me I was smart. I always tested well. There were points in college where, due to lack of sleep, overstudying, too much caffeine, my brain wasn't functioning properly. And I was looking at like a sheet of paper to try to memorize like basic equations, like really basic stuff, at least for engineering. And I'm like, I was questioning if I'm just like a dumbass. I'm like, am I just a dumbass? I'm like, no, I'm actually really smart. First off, this is actually pretty difficult stuff, and my brain's also not working that much. I mean, like, it's kind of like be a defense attorney for yourself. Like, next time you start judging yourself, like, be your own defense attorney. Like, try to give yourself the benefit of the doubt. I'm not saying let yourself slide on stuff, but like, when you look back on your past behaviors, instead of like regretting them or judging yourself for them, I mean, you can learn from them, but you can also be like, I made the best decision I was capable of with the knowledge I had, the state of mind I was in at that period of time. Because as you grow, as you evolve, which you naturally should do, you will look back on your life and be like, holy crap, I was like, that was such a stupid situation. Like, I acted so wrong in that situation. I mean, when I was younger, I was socially awkward. And during middle school, early part of high school, I'd go talk to women and they would be into me. I wouldn't know this at all. I'd have a girl touch my arm, like laughing, and I'm just like, I literally just over my head. And looking back on it, I'm like, holy crap, I was so stupid with like social cues. But I'm like, well, I did the best for what I knew at the time. Like, I learned, I became more sociable. I now understand social cues at least better than I did back then. And not holding yourself to the standards you have today, because hopefully the person you are today is the best version of yourself who knows better and knows more than the previous version. So you have to allow yourself slack. You have to allow yourself to forgive yourself, or I'd say not forgive yourself, make peace with things you've done in the past, or situations that you would have smacked yourself in the head for, like, how didn't you see this stuff? Yeah, I mean, I allowed myself to get addicted to nicotine in high school because I didn't know what addiction was. Looking back on it, after quitting smoking, I know what addiction is, and I would go back in time and smack my younger. Well, I wanted to, because I'm like, how could I have been so stupid? It's like, I just didn't know. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know that I couldn't just hit a vape multiple times a day for a couple of months and not get addicted, because I didn't feel it at the time. The only time you really feel that you're addicted to nicotine is when you stop taking nicotine. And at the time, when you have zero tolerance, you don't really want to do that because you're enjoying it. But like, when your tolerance starts to build up and it's not doing what it did for you in the past, you're like, okay, well, what's the point of hitting this thing now? Like, I'm paying money to buy vape juice in order to hit this thing that doesn't give me the same head buzz that it used to. Then you try to put it away, and then you're like, oh crap, I'm addicted to this. Like, you get like a headache because you're craving it and withholding from yourself. I have like, I don't know, 50 videos on this channel about addiction. But identifying with negative labels. I mean, if you can understand this, you can understand this. When I was younger, I was like 11 or 12, I found Dexter, all the seasons of it, and I was watching it, and I was empathizing and identifying with some of the things that he did. And during this time, I was like, well, he's a sociopath, and if I identify with, or if I can understand some of his thoughts, does that make me a sociopath? And I mean, I was young, I didn't know, but like, that scared the crap out of me. And I'm like, well, if I can understand how he's thinking, I must be a sociopath too. And then I kind of like started disassociating myself from my feelings. And then one day I confided to my brother about this. And he's like, dude, you're not a sociopath. Like, you love the cat way too much. And I was like, I do. And I literally just started crying tears of joy, because I was like, I'm not a sociopath. But like, it's the stupidest thing. Like, you apply these labels to yourself, and then you'll be like, okay, well, since I apply this label, I must now do other behaviors that this label is supposed to do. I mean, if you call yourself fat, you're like, or lazy, well, you're like, say you really don't like doing yard work, and your parents call you lazy your whole life. You're like, well, I'm just lazy. And then you take that same attitude and you apply it to everything else. Or in school. This is a big thing for school. Like, you're in school and you don't like doing your homework, so your teachers call you lazy. or stupid. And you're like, well, I'm lazy, I'm stupid. And then you apply that, you identify with that. So even though you're just a kid who, I don't know, you might have ADHD, you might have trouble sitting still, you might just not like history. You'll apply these labels of I'm lazy, I'm stupid to yourself, and you'll identify with them. And then you'll allow yourself to carry out behaviors that fit that label of being lazy and being stupid. You won't try as hard in class because you think you're stupid. You won't go to the gym because you're fat, you're lazy. And it literally is horrible. Like, the negative side of it's horrible. The positive side, like applying positive labels to yourself, is a really good thing to do. They don't have to be true. By believing them, you'll make them true, which is also the message of when you apply the negative labels. By believing them, you'll make them true. Anyways, comment down below if you have any suggestions for future videos or what you thought about this one. Peace out.